In this extract of a conversation between Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray, they explore the relevant issues surrounding censorship, the sense of purpose, gratitude, and euthanasia. Peterson and Murray open the discussion with concerns about socio-political censorship, suggesting that there are individuals intent on dictating what society finds humorous or morally palatable. Murray paints a vivid picture of individuals who have an unyielding determination to dictate societal thinking and behavior. This conversation transitions into a profound discussion about purpose. Both Peterson and Murray identify how misguided purpose can be disastrous, yet acknowledge the critical role that purpose plays in human lives. They emphasize that people's drive often originates from a sense of purpose, no matter how misguided, shallow, or malevolent these purposes might appear. Murray shares a concern on the dangers of unaddressed societal issues regarding purpose and comments on how acquiring deeper senses of meaning links to people finding complex pleasures in life. The dialogue then turns toward gratitude. They stress that some states of mind, such as gratitude, are not inexplicable sentiments, but rather attributes that require effort to acquire. Peterson mentions the book of Job, a story that encapsulates the worshipper's unwavering faith despite overwhelming misery, suggesting that maintaining faith in the goodness of life during adversity equates to practicing gratitude. They also delve into the issue of euthanasia. Here, Murray expresses skepticism about legalizing euthanasia, raising numerous ethical concerns like equating physical suffering to mental suffering. He mentions his experience talking to patients and doctors in Belgium and the Netherlands, countries perceived as advanced in euthanasia practices, expressing apprehension about leaving the decision to end someone's life in hands of the government or doctors. This segment of the podcast kicks off with a somber reflection on tragedy and suffering, drawing references from literature, philosophy, and personal experience. Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray delve into the complex nature of human existence, highlighting the incomprehensibility of a society which chooses to euthanize its suffering victims rather than hold perpetrators accountable. There's a pointed critique on the state's involvement in the matter, with Peterson stating categorically that he would not trust such power in the hands of governmental authorities, particularly regarding mentally ill individuals. The speaker then shares an intimate glimpse into his personal life, recounting the struggles faced by his daughter due to debilitating health issues. The story emphasizes on the importance of not succumbing to bitterness and adversity, as it merely compounds suffering. Peterson highlights this as an interesting exploration of the relationship between values and facts. He proposes that bitterness and resentment can often lead one to draw irrational conclusions from a set of facts, and underscores the importance of maintaining positive attitude in adversity, often requiring a leap of faith in the positive direction despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. The conversation then turns toward the concept of depth in ideas and beliefs, with Peterson positing that religious axioms act as the deepest fundamentals that most ideas depend upon. This evolves to include a critique of postmodernism's focus on semantics over substance, and the subsequent detrimental impact on philosophy insights. Peterson's reflections then take a dark turn, exploring the concept of evil by examining atrocities committed by seemingly ordinary people, particularly during the World War, which he describes as the Auschwitz puzzle. This part calls for an individual interrogation of the potential for malevolence within ourselves, arguing for the necessity of confronting our inner evils in order to achieve true understanding of human nature. The conversation culminates on an exploration of the crucifixion story as an archetypal tragedy symbolizing ultimate suffering, wrongful execution of a virtuous person. Paralleling this to a psychological perspective, Peterson suggests that it's not solely about enduring ultimate tragedy, but also about confronting extreme malevolence. He concludes that the trivialization of philosophy is a manifestation of our preference to avoid the discomfort of grappling with these profound problems. In this portion of the podcast, Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray embark on a profound discussion that intertwines numerous topics, focusing primarily on the dangers of self-deception, the responsibility of individuals to confront their own faults, and the peril of ascribing victimhood to historical suffering. Peterson emphasizes that for an individual to make decisions wisely, especially during complex moments such as end-of-life decisions, they must have led a life of exceptional care. Exemplifying the devastating outcomes of self-deception, Peterson warns against deceiving oneself to escape responsibility and pain. He explains that a lack of clarity caused by self-deception can lead to the wrong decisions, resulting in deep regret. Exploring further, Murray brings up the concept of self-deception and regret in an ethical context, using the example of abortion. He asserts that discussions around ethical issues can be hindered when individuals involved carry deep-seated regret, spiraling into self-deception to avoid confronting their guilt. Their discussion veers into the issue of suffering in society, percolating to victimhood. Peterson and Murray criticize the trend of individuals claiming victimhood due to historical events such as slavery, describing it as a competitive grievance competition. They both maintain that attributing one's sufferings to historical events and demanding reparations belittles the complexity of human struggle and prevents introspection. Another major theme is the role of the therapist in challenging self-deceptive thoughts in their clients. Both Peterson and Murray express frustration at therapists' hesitance to confront this issue, marking it as an act of cowardice. Peterson emphasizes the necessity for therapists to facilitate their clients' exposure to fears and guide them into negotiating their identity. They also discuss the idea of adults providing harsh yet honest feedback to younger generations. For instance, Peterson observes that his blunt approach, implying that their misery might be due to their own lack of effort, can be a catalyst for change since it opens a way forward. Meanwhile, nurturing a victim mentality only fosters resentment and stagnancy. The transcript moves on towards Murray's recounting of his personal tradition of visiting a dangerous country each year. He believes the experiences gathered in war-torn or precarious settings instill a sense of gratitude and realization of the fragility of peace. This practice, Murray elaborates, underscores how quickly the stability of a society can falter, leading to self-examination and profound learning. Peterson interjects with a clinical insight. He explains that psychologists of the mid-20th century began using exposure therapy, where patients would face their fears in controlled settings. First thought to work by pairing the fear with a state of relaxation, therapy turned out to be effective, even without this pairing, if the patient willingly faced their fears. Peterson contrasts this with the Freudian psychoanalyst's view that these fears were merely symptoms of a deeper fear of death. However, he states that exposure therapy does not merely eradicate fear. Rather, it induces bravery. In doing so, it redefines the patients as active combatants of adversity, not passive victims. Murray shares an anecdote of being in a conflict zone while working as a journalist in the inherent rush of defying death. Peterson interprets this as Murray kindling the heroic spirit he saw in his grandparents who lived through the Second World War. Instead of a specific fear, this journey makes you push yourself and inadvertently explore your own inner strength. Peterson further explains that facing optimized challenges enables us to gather information from different situations, allowing for the activation of previously dormant aspects of our personalities. Here, he intriguingly asserts how genes turn on in new and challenging situations to facilitate our growth and transformation. To face these challenges voluntarily is what gives our lives meaning and purpose, the instinct that drives us to the edge of transformation. In their conversation about death, Peterson shares an intriguing case study to affirm Murray's point. His client was terrified of death, but after volunteering to witness an embalming and overcoming her initial hesitations in stages, she discovered a strength and courage within herself that she hadn't recognized before. The speakers then delve into the subject of speaking up against lies and conformity, a quality that Peterson admires in Murray. Murray confesses his dislike for dishonesty and his inability to conform blindly to societal changes. Silence, they agree, extracts a vicious price, and so speaking up, however hard it may be, is a path they choose to tread. Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray also discuss the value of truth and courage, exploring the concept from multiple angles. Murray shares his appreciation for courageous people, especially those who are not afraid to say what they think. He believes that surrounding oneself with courageous individuals potentially catalyzes personal bravery. Peterson and Murray agree on the significance of truth and admiration. They posit that admiration, a manifestation of the religious instinct, is often evoked by those who speak their truth, which, according to Murray, is expected to set one free. The latter aligns with a religious proclamation that Peterson points out. The two also probe the grounding of morality. Peterson suggests that morality may not be rooted in facts, but instead in a concept akin to the religious instinct, or possibly God. He defends that one's sense of admiration can guide their moral compass and that courage is a valid and almost universally recognized marker for admiration. Further, Murray and Peterson concur on the notion of speaking one's mind, labeling it the beginning of an adventurous journey. Both believe that the search for or pursuit of truth is not a mere game, but a path to reach a desirable destination. They go on to discuss the relationship between truth, life, and language. Peterson distinguishes between manipulative and transparent use of language, contending that truth-telling paves the way for unforeseen adventures since the individual doesn't know what will happen next. They then transition into humor, how it relates to truth and its role in society. Invoking the words of the late Clive James, Murray defines humor as common sense dancing and explains how laughter could be evidence of recognizing truth. Comedians who dare to make light of serious issues while speaking their truth are particularly admired and trusted by society, according to Murray. They also criticize those who seek to limit what people should find funny, read, or think. These critics are juxtaposed with comedians whom Peterson and Murray are convinced can overthrow the suppressive tendencies of overbearing social justice activists. The conversation indicates an optimistic outlook for the future, betting on those who embrace courage and truth to prevail in shaping society. In this expansive discussion, Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray also explore the idea of personal calling and the importance of meaning and purpose in individuals' lives. Peterson introduces the concept of a pillar of darkness during the day and a pillar of light at night, drawing parallels to the yin-yang philosophy from Taoism. According to Peterson, the pillar analogy represents the balance of life's opportunities and problems. He explains that things that beckon to us as opportunities are considered the pillar of light, and the problems or negative aspects surrounding us are the pillar of darkness. A person develops when they face their unique problems and seize their individual opportunities. Peterson also highlights a study on vision development where encouraging students to visualize their successful future decreased dropout rates and boosted grade point averages. Building on this, both individuals emphasize the role of language and literature in self-development. Murray discusses his commitment to committing poems to memory, an idea stemming from various influential figures. He shares inspiring stories about how the power of literature helped individuals cope during times of immense hardship. In one story, Terry Waite, held captive for 5 years, found comfort in Eliot's 4 quartets. In another, a Russian woman named Tatiana Goncharova translated the entirety of Lord Byron's Don Juan into Russian during her time in the Gulag. Peterson and Murray agree that internalizing works of literature can shape an individual's discourse and mental landscape. The discussion underscores the need to provide young individuals, particularly men, with a comprehensive education in literature, emphasizing that mastering language is critical to success and building a meaningful life. Towards the end of the conversation, they explore what an ideal life might look like, as represented in a poem. Peterson posits that they started the discussion speaking about purpose, and throughout the journey touched upon courage, truth, beauty, and language, all of which he feels are manifestations of the divine word, something powerful and meaningful. He further emphasizes this point, indicating that nothing is more powerful or meaningful than to think and speak in truth. As the conversation unfolds, Murray and Peterson discuss the amazing adventures and connections one can derive from living truthfully. This involves interacting with high-caliber individuals and experiencing unexpected, magical events. Peterson ties this to the concept of beauty, suggesting that combining truth and courage with beauty makes for an ideal way of living. Poetry, as noted by the duo, aligns heavily with the idea of beauty. They reference poets like Keats and Rilke, highlighting that beauty is not just appealing to the senses, but it communicates a deeper message. According to the conversation, beauty holds a mirror to our lives, challenging us to change and improve. However, they observe that people are often afraid of beauty as it acts as a judge, especially when a person's life is far from what is considered beautiful. The conversation reaches its peak as they critique modern selfie culture's superficiality versus appreciating the beauty of art. Peterson concludes with a call to gratitude, attributing it to the right attitude when confronted with beauty. The podcast closes with Peterson thanking Murray for his time and the audience for their attention, hinting at more engaging discussions in the future. Throughout, the two intellectual heavyweights stress the significance of living in truth, the role of beauty, and the power of language, elements that captivate their audience and create a remarkable podcast episode. Check out the full podcast by clicking the link in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for listening to this podcast summary episode of The Pod Slice.